right, folks. Well, let's go ahead and kick things off here today. First of all, thank you very much for taking your time here to join us here for our latest and greatest in our PlanFees series of webinars. My name is Luke Vandermillen. I'm a Senior New Business Development Associate here at PlanFees. And today we're going to be talking about a topic that's near and dear to my heart, talking about fee benchmarking best practices. For those of you who are familiar with us here at PlanFees, you're probably aware that we eat, sleep, and breathe retirement plans, and more specifically, benchmarking the fees related to those retirement plans. And so what I wanted to do today was kind of break down different scenarios of fee benchmarking for advisors. When is it appropriate to take a plan out to bid in kind of a live bid RFP scenario? When is it appropriate to use a resource like PlanFees to do more of an industry level benchmarking for a plan? When do you use things like advisor compensation benchmarking tools? And then lastly, what I'm most excited to talk about today, folks, is we're going to be giving you a sneak peek today at the latest and greatest from PlanFees, RFP Express. I'll touch on that in a little bit, but just to set the table a little bit, RFP Express is going to be PlanFees' instant quoting resource that is going to help expedite the process of gathering quotes for smaller plans in the retirement space. So I'll try to keep an eye on the chat as we go through here. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. Again, I'll try to keep, I'll periodically stop throughout here and see if we have any open questions. But let's go ahead and get started. So again, I'll talk a little bit about who we are here at PlanFees, talking about how to build your process in terms of fee benchmarking your retirement plan clients and when to use specific resources, how to position those different resources with your clients and prospects. Like I said, we'll do a sneak peek of the much anticipated RFP Express that's being added to the PlanFees tool suite. And at the end, we'll open it up to any Q&A to talk about topics that we've covered throughout this webinar here. So let's go ahead and get started here with a little bit about us here at PlanFees. So again, if you're not familiar with us here at PlanFees, essentially what we're here to do is help retirement professionals, particularly fiduciaries on retirement plans, save time in the fee benchmarking process. As many of the folks on this call, I'm sure, are aware, the DOL a few years ago released some guidelines that said that it's a fiduciary duty on an annual basis to determine, and this is the DOL words, not mine, fee reasonableness. It's up to a fiduciary on a retirement plan on an annual basis to determine fee reasonableness for their plan. Now, obviously that's that's something that as fiduciaries on retirement plans we love to do. We love to make sure that our fees for our clients are in the acceptable range, as we'll call. But with the DOL releasing that guideline, they didn't really release any sort of instructions on how to determine fee reasonableness, right? So what most folks in the industry were doing is just taking their plan out to bid every year and going through that arduous process of gathering quotes for a retirement plan, putting them in a side-by-side comparison, and then presenting that. Now, as great as reports like that are, and as you'll see in our presentation a little bit later, they do certainly have their place. But we wanted to come up with an easier way on an annual basis for retirement advisors to leverage the available technology that's out there in the marketplace and add some efficiencies to their client and prospecting process. And so that's how we created PlanFees here. So we're a subscription fintech platform. PlanFees was started by a group of retirement industry leaders who have a collective over 200 years of experience in this industry. And again, what we really aim here to do at PlanFees is provide accurate, on-demand, and revealing fee benchmarking reports, and also allow fiduciaries, specifically advisors, to save some time and rededicate some of the time that we would have took to go through that arduous RFP process, and rededicate that to revenue driving activities, whether it be meeting or servicing prospects or things like that. So that's who we are here at PlanFees. And I did get a question already through our chat feature here. My friend Sammy here said, who's your favorite non-primary Seinfeld character? As you can tell here, my Zoom background here is the famous Seinfeld living room. It's my favorite television show of all time. My favorite non-primary character, I like Mr. Pitt a lot. He was a really fun character, and he fit in the story well there. So that's my favorite non-primary character in Seinfeld. But then again, kind of turning our attention here back to PlanFees. Here at PlanFees, we currently offer 2 different benchmarking reports that retirement advisors can leverage. The first being our PlanFees Prism report, which is going to benchmark investment, record keeping, administration, and advisory fees. Very, very easy to put together a quick benchmarking report that will help you benchmark your plan's fees. And then we also have a Prism 365 advisor fee and service benchmarking report. So taking that conversation of benchmarking advisor fees a step further, and putting that advisor fee in context of services rendered to the plan. Because as we all know, service models throughout the retirement industry vary greatly from advisor to advisor. And so just looking at pure quantitative data and just comparing advisor fees is not necessarily an apples to apples comparison like you would have for an investment manager or a record keeper. And so we added our Prism 365 report to give our advisors an extra tool in their toolbox to help benchmark their fees and services if that conversation ever comes up with clients or prospects. So again, PlanFees, again, is a subscription fintech platform here. It's available on demand, so you can access it through either an app or through the web here. One of the questions I just got in our chat here is about the subscription fee to join PlanFees. So the subscription fee to join PlanFees is $49 per month billed annually. To get access to the Prism report, which we'll be covering here in a second. That's the one that benchmarks record keeping, investment, and administration costs. And then if you'd like to get access to the Prism 365 report as well, it's going to bump you up to $69 per month billed annually. And so with that $69 per month package, that will include RFP Express once it goes live on our site. So if you're already a PlanFees customer and have access to Prism 365, all you have to do is wait for RFP Express to come out and you'll have access to it. If you just have access to the PlanFees Prism benchmarking report, you'll want to upgrade to that $69 per month billed annually package. So that you can get access to RFP Express as well. So, and again, we'll cover this in more detail and I'll make sure to review that at the end of our presentation as well here. But again, here's a quick look at the 2 different PlanFees reports that we currently have live on our platform. Again, we'll take a deeper dive into both of these, but on the left-hand side, we have the Prism fee benchmarking report. On the right-hand side, we have the Prism 365 advisor fee and services benchmarking report. Both are incredibly concise reports. They're 5 to 8 pages long. So they're very digestible for your plan sponsor clients to go through. So you're not bringing them a 75, 80, 90 page report on this RFP process that you've done. You're simply putting their fees into context for them to say, hey, you're a $5 million retirement plan with 50 participants and you're paying, say 55 basis points for your investment costs. Is that reasonable? Well, in the past, we would have to go through kind of a live bid scenario where we got actual quotes from different record keepers. But now, as it stands, PlanFees can actually benchmark your plan for you by giving you a low, average, and high of fees of plans of a similar size. And we'll dive into that a little bit more here in a second. So that's a little bit about us here at PlanFees, what we do, what we're about, and why we came to be. But today I'm going to get on to kind of the main topic of our discussion is building a prudent fee benchmarking process, utilizing resources like PlanFees. So as we all know, as fiduciaries on a retirement plan, whether you're evaluating investment performance, benchmarking fees, looking at plan design information, you're going to need an objective process to do that, a repeatable, efficient process across your whole book of business that allows you to not be reactionary in these types of scenarios, but allow you to be proactive and help determine fee reasonableness, determine what is reasonable to benchmark your plan on an annual basis. And then now that you have your annual fiduciary duty satisfied using the PlanFees report, then you can start sliding in a live bid RFP every 3 to 5 years to make sure that the record keeper partners that you're working with are sharpening their pencil on their pricing, making sure that everything stays in line with what the market demands. So that's the challenge that advisors face currently in the marketplace. Now, in terms of what we should be looking to benchmark, there's kind of 3 core areas that here at PlanFees we believe that every fiduciary should be benchmarking for their plan. The first is the investment fees, which is always going to be paid for by the participants. Again, we all hear that kind of buzzword lowest cost share class being thrown around. So I'm certain that all the folks on this call are probably well aware of how important it is to benchmark your investment fees and compare your current share class to others. But we also want to be looking at the administrative fees as well and benchmarking those. The record keeping fees, any sort of trustees or compliance or custodians that you have involved. You want to make sure you're benchmarking those costs, not only benchmarking the pure cost, but also the services that those parties are providing your plan. And then lastly here, I mentioned it a little bit, you want to benchmark your advisory fees. You want to make sure that the advisor compensation that you're charging your clients and that you're coming to the table with for your prospects is in line with what your service model demands. You're not underpaying yourself, but that you're also coming with a competitive price that's not going to price you out of certain competitive situations. So let's talk a little bit about what benchmarking looks like today. For those of you who are out there who maybe don't leverage PlanFees, I'm sure these kind of hit a button with you. Most of the fee benchmarking platforms and reporting that's out there in the marketplace typically falls into one of these categories here. The first being incredibly time consuming. Again, we talk about making an advisor's life more efficient and dedicating an advisor's time to mostly revenue driving activities. If you're spending weeks at a time putting together benchmarking reports manually through Excel sheets and things like that, you're essentially taking away time from growing your retirement practice and dedicating it to, again, these more kind of servicing type models here. So time consuming is no good. Inaccurate data, right? A lot of the databases out there that utilize the fee benchmarking reports are not the most accurate. And you can see that as, retirement plan professionals, if you take a look at some of those reports and take a look at kind of what the fee ranges are that they say, and if you just judge that next to your own book of business, you'll notice that the fees are much out of line with other databases. And so here at PlanFees, again, not only do we want to be revealing and on demand, but we also, the first and foremost, we want to be accurate. So PlanFees utilizes an RFP database that includes the industry's most complex and accurate fee calculator that can show different scenarios like, revenue credits and things like that, crediting to an ERISA budget. And we use that data to make up our PlanFees report. So you can be assured that if you're running a benchmarking report through PlanFees, you're going to be getting the most accurate data in the industry. Usually if those reports are accurate and they're efficient, usually they fall into the expensive category, they get a little bit cost prohibitive. So again, PlanFees is available for is either available for $49 a month for just the Prism report, or $69 a month for both the Prism report, Prism 365, and soon to be coming RFP Express. So for under $1,000, you can have a fee benchmarking report, an advisor compensation and services benchmarking report, and an express quoting tool, all under one integrated platform at under $1,000 per year. And then lastly, it still blows my mind that folks are using these out in the industry. But usually if the platform doesn't fall into one of these categories, it's an actual hardcover book. And so if you look at, what's time consuming, actually leafing through an actual textbook to look at, what should be acceptable fee ranges, it's not worthwhile for your time as the advisor. It's not worthwhile to take your client through that exercise. And so here at PlanFees, we try to solve all of these issues that you currently see with fee benchmarking in our industry. So being a visual guy, I kind of like to look at fee benchmarking on a spectrum here. So on our little x-axis here, we have how much time it takes to create the fee benchmarking report. Whether it's a huge time suck or it's quick and easy. A quick question that just came up in the chat. Yes, we will be recording this and sending this out afterwards. So in case any of you joined us late, I've been recording this and we'll be sending it out as a follow-up here. But with this spectrum, we have on the x-axis how much time it takes to create a report. And then on our y-axis here is how compelling is that report? Or in other words, how useless might that report be? So down here in our fourth quadrant, we have fast reports that are easy to run, but they don't lead to desired results, rendering them effectively useless. So that would be something as simple as Googling how much does my 401k cost, which I'm sure participants of some of your plans out there have done, using a hardcover 401k references book, things like that. And then conversely, up here in this first quadrant, we have compelling reports that lead to our desired results, but again, they just take up too much of our time. So this is going to be, again, our handy dandy spreadsheet, which I know a lot of us here in our retirement industry love our spreadsheets and love manually updating those. We also have live bid systems that are out there in the marketplace. So whether you utilize something like RPAG, where you can go out, receive quotes for your retirement plan, get actual quotes from different record keepers. But again, typically that process, while being incredibly accurate, and it does show your client all the data points that they'd probably want to see, you're going to get a couple weeks of your time taken away from putting that together, even for the most efficient of systems that are out there. And then getting towards the middle here, we have a solid report in terms of how easy it is to run and how compelling the data is, but it doesn't really lead to actual change. So this is going to be more in-depth benchmarking, looking at services in particular. Once you start moving into this top right quadrant, which for all my math folks out there, is a quick proposal system, which we'll be talking about with RFP Express. And again, this top right quadrant is where you want to be. And that's where we view PlanFees as your holy grail here for, again, quick and easy report to run that still is going to give you compelling data to present to your client. So real quick here, this is kind of my executive summary here of fee benchmarking best practices. So we'll start on the far left there with with an annual fee benchmarking, where we have, something like PlanFees, annual benchmarking that you can conduct for clients on an annual basis. It's also very easy to use with prospects. So it's a great way for you as an advisor when you're talking to a prospective client to open the door, open the conversation to talk about, hey, I did a benchmarking study on one of your plans, and I noticed that your investment fees are on the high side of this benchmark. Opening up that door to talk about investment performance and possibly going into lower cost share class. Same thing with a record keeper fee. Hey, I noticed your record keeping fee is on the high side of our benchmark. Does your current advisor take your plan out to bid? When was the last time that your plan was taken out to market? I've seen dozens and dozens of financial advisors leverage a situation like that using the PlanFees report to charge a prospect project work to go through and take their plan out to bid and go through the time of comparing those individual quotes. And it's a great way for not only advisors to charge for their time and make it worthwhile, but it's also a great way to get your foot in the door with prospects. And then moving to the middle there, we have our live bid RFP benchmarking report. So this, again, would be something that you would do every 3 to 5 years. Now, with prospects, we don't necessarily recommend doing a live bid benchmarking report because of the fact of how time consuming those can be. And so especially if the project doesn't lead to a client relationship, then you're looking at a couple weeks of lost time on your hands. And then, getting into the advisor fee benchmarking question, and I get a question here from my friend John here. What lines of conversation do other advisors use to justify their fee when it falls into the high category? Great question, John. What we see mostly advisors doing is using a report like Prism 365 to not only put their fee into a benchmark, but also benchmark the services rendered for that advisor fee. So to give you an example, I'm benchmarking my fee for a $10 million retirement plan. And let's say I charge that plan 30 basis points to be their advisor. And when I run my benchmark, I notice that, okay, my 30 basis points is actually kind of on the high side of this benchmark. Okay, well, let's take this a step further, because again, that advisor compensation conversation has to go a step further than just pure numbers. It also has to look at what services are rendered for that particular fee. And so even though I might be on the high side of the benchmarking universe with, whatever it is, 30 basis points, I can use a report like Prism 365 to show the services that I'm offering that plan to say, hey, even though my fee's on the high side of your universe, that just means I'm a premium advisor. I'm a high touch advisor. So I'm going to be offering a high level of service to you. You get what you pay for type of deal. And then you can also use Prism 365 to show, hey, the industry average for a $10 million retirement plan is only doing one investment due diligence meeting a year. But I offer your committee 2 investment committee meetings per year. So in a sense, you're providing twice the amount of service as an advisor who's just doing 1 investment committee meeting per year. And through Prism 365, you can use that to show services for investment due diligence, RFP fee benchmarking, employee engagement, financial wellness, and then lastly, fiduciary governance as well. So the nice thing about that Prism 365 report is that you can kind of pick and choose what you want to show in there and kind of pick your attack strategy to show, hey, just because my fee is on the high side of this universe, that just means you're getting a high level of service to go along with that fee. And so for that advisor fee benchmarking, you can use that upon request for any of your plan sponsor clients. You can also use it for prospects as well, if that ever comes into question with them. And it's a great way to see how your fee and service model stacks up with the retirement industry that you're competing against for business. So again, the annual fee benchmarking on the left-hand side, this is a screenshot from our PlanFees Prism report. So if you're not familiar with this report, what the advisor can do is input just quickly the plan's investment fees, their record keeping fees, and their advisory fees. You can see by the legend down here below, this is that purple bar that you see here. So this advisor is working with a $5 million plan, 50 total participants. This advisor chose to compare these fees with a universe of plans between $3.5 and $6.5 million. You can see we have about 2,200 plans in that universe. We have tens of thousands of plans in our PlanFees database, ranging from startups to plans with hundreds of millions of dollars in them. And so the whole point of this PlanFees Prism report is a high-level comparison, high ROI or high return on energy, as my friend Jesse Taylor likes to say. And what this report allows the advisor to do is show the plan sponsor, here's where your current plan is, and then here's how your plan's fees stack up to a low, average, and high of this plan range that we're looking at. So essentially what this does is put into context of, hey, you're a $5 million retirement plan. You're paying 55 basis points for your investment costs. Is that too high? Well, that puts you right against the high side of our benchmark here. So if I was this advisor, I would probably take a look at the investment lineup and do more of an in-depth investment analysis. Same thing with the record keeping fees. But the record keeping fees, hey, have you taken your plan out to bid yet? It's a great way to open the door for project only work. Quick note here in the chat from my friend Jesse here. In his experience, advisors use Prism 365 to show a high level of service to justify their fees. And then there's also, if you have access to an advisor fee calculator through a platform like RPAG, you can model out a newer service model that would help lower the frequency of services. And then this is our Prism 365 report that takes a look at the advisor fees and the services that are benchmarked, and the services that are provided for that fee. So again, for this report, we're not only looking at, okay, hey, this advisor is charging 30 basis points to be the advisor on this plan, but also, hey, how often are we, reviewing the fiduciary process? How often are we doing something like comparing, doing a fee benchmarking exercise, things like that. So all of that can be found through this Prism 365 report. And then before I get into this in-depth bid analysis here, one of the questions I just got in the chat here is, what sets you apart from your competition? That's going to be a lot of what I talked about at the top of our call here, where we took a look at how accurate PlanFees is, how it can be run on demand. Again, it's available through the app or through the website. I've worked with several advisors that will just pull up PlanFees in front of their client or prospect and run the report right there for them. So it's on demand, and it's also revealing. It's an easy to digest report for plan sponsors. So accurate, on demand, and revealing are going to be, we'll talk a little bit about why those are important. And then going here into the in-depth live bid analysis here, there's tons of different platforms that are out there that you can utilize. We recommend using RPAG because it's the most accurate RFP report in the industry. But this is where you would be, taking a look at the current pricing structure with the current provider and comparing it to a universe of quotes that you've received from competing record keepers. So, our current plan is with provider A. We want to go get quotes from providers B, C, and D here to see, hey, what would they charge? to be the record keeper on this plan. And then you can get even more in depth with using an in-depth bid analysis to start looking at service, to start looking at investment mappings as well, some of those different pricing levers. So taking it from, where we started with the PlanFees Prism report all the way up to the in-depth bid analysis, what you can really create is a process for your fee benchmarking exercises to help with your clients and prospects here. So again, in terms of what we use PlanFees for, or an in-depth live bid analysis, is one of the things that we find very important here at PlanFees is isolating the different cost components of a retirement plan. Taking a look at, not only what's the total plan cost and just looking at it from that bottom line, but breaking it out to, hey, what's the record keeper keeping? What's the TPA keeping? What is the investment manager being paid? What's the advisor keeping? Again, on that earlier slide, we talked a little bit about the live bid scenario where you're looking at, okay, hey, we're benchmarking administrative, investment, and other costs. Well, through this report here, we can isolate kind of what's the problem area. Using this report as kind of an MRI machine to figure out, hey, okay, the total plan cost seems high, but let's see what component of that total plan cost is available or is kind of causing that problem. Oh, okay, it's, the record keeping fees are too high or the investment fee is too high. Quick question here. Can you explain how this differs from the provider analysis? Is that it takes averages versus an actual bid? Exactly, Patty. So the PlanFees Prism report, and if I go back here, again, takes a look at industry averages of the fees that are being compared here. And then this over here, this report is what you're referring to as the provider analysis. So this is going to be, okay, hey, now we're going to look at actual bids from actual record keepers here. So again, in benchmarking your retirement plans, we want to look at things like how much does it cost, who's going to pay those costs, how are they going to pay? Is it going to be, out of assets or a build fee, things like that? And then what model works best for your plan? Is it, creating an ERISA budget, plan expense account, utilizing revenue sharing, going to a zero rev lineup? All of those things should be taken into consideration when you're benchmarking your fees for your retirement plans. And again, just a real quick review here, investment, administrative, and advisory fees. That's what we believe you should be looking at here at PlanFees. And then just a couple other factors that are going to impact your pricing in terms of fee benchmarking. Things like the plan's financials, how many vendors do you have, the complexity of the plan. If you've ever worked with plans that have individual contracts sewn into them, you might know what I'm talking about. Fund requirements, and then the service model that your plan would be looking for as well. So again, it's not just looking at the actual costs, it's also looking at what does our plan need to run efficiently. And then when you're choosing a provider partner for your plan, again, we're looking at what our investment needs are, what our service requirements would be, how big is our plan, how complex is it? For the advisor or for the provider, you want to look at, okay, do the demographics match? Is this a record keeper that's used to servicing a plan of the size that we're working with? And then what the strengths and experience of the provider are. And then what the system's capabilities are in terms of, payroll integration and things like that. So all of these things should be considered when going through a benchmarking exercise. And then let's talk a little bit about positioning this with clients and prospects. So with all of these reports, right, it's great data to take a look at. It's great data to look at and say, hey, here's where our plan currently stands. But then also we can take a look at actually, hey, how do we use these resources? So took a case study here from an advisor that I worked with in the past here. She was working with an emergency services firm, about 100 so participants, 12 million in the plan. And what we were trying to do through our process of quantifying our data here is looking at, how, where and how each provider receives compensation, and to determine if the record keeping fees are reasonable. So that's what we were going for with this benchmarking exercise. So again, now this was a prospect that this advisor was dealing with. And so when the advisor got the meeting with the prospect, the first thing that she did was go on to her 5500 search database and take a look at the Form 5500, which is, I think, where a lot of advisors would start in this scenario. Now, as great as that information is going to be, some 5,500 search databases like Larkspur are going to give you, a lineup and some lineup performance and things like that. You can obviously see some audit attachments through those 5,500 searches. But we recommend, as the most accurate and precise way to benchmark fees for a retirement plan is request the 408B2 fee disclosure for that plan. That's the fee disclosure that every fiduciary should be receiving according to the DOL. And it's the most accurate in terms of which parties are receiving compensation. What's the record keeper taking? What's the investment manager taking, etc. So again, as great as the Form 5500 data is, and again, whether that data is going to be somewhat accurate, but usually not as accurate as taking a look at a fee disclosure. So if you have the ability to grab that 408B2 fee disclosure from your client or prospect. Next, this advisor put this through the PlanFees Prism benchmarking report. So she isolated not only the total plan cost, but the different components of that total plan cost. And to her surprise, she found that while the total cost of the plan was pretty in line with what she was looking at across the board, she noticed that the current record keeping fee for this particular plan was 82 basis points, which was way over the high of the benchmark that she utilized. So what this advisor ended up doing then is isolating that within the prospect meeting and saying, hey, you're currently paying close to $100,000 for your current record keeping fee. And according to our benchmarking study, you should be paying, closer to, anywhere between 45 and 70. And again, yes, just in case you missed it, we will be recording this and sending this out as well. But the advisor pointed this out to the prospect, and take a look at this total fees line down at the bottom here. You look at the total fee cost, the current plan, about 122 basis points, right? If we're just looking at the total plan cost, that puts this right in line with kind of between the average and the high, towards the high side, but not that close, still about 14 basis points off. However, and this is the reason why we at PlanFees think it's so important to isolate those different cost components, is that we see that while the investment cost is really low, the advisory cost is right on the average, this record keeping fee is way out of whack. And so despite the fact that if you're just looking at total cost, you might think, okay, this plan is right in line with everything, what you'll find pretty quickly is that by isolating these components, that they're actually very much overpaying for their record keeping services. So then through conversation with the prospect plan sponsor, that committee, the advisor charged a fee to do some project work for the client, or for the prospect, excuse me. And so what this advisor was able to do was go, compare the current pricing, which she already had, and then go out to each of the different bidders that she wanted to include in her analysis and compare quotes. So, hey, going to each record keeper and asking, what would you charge for this plan, for this $12 million plan with 100 participants and, X and Y amount of cash flow. So then this is how you can see where the transition goes from using an annual benchmarking report to going to this more in-depth live bid analysis here, where, okay, hey, we're comparing this pricing across the industry here and looking at what the current record keeper's competitors would charge to be the record keeper on this plan. So again, just to wrap up here, at the end of that in-depth bid analysis, again, saw that the total cost was a little bit above what each of the bidders was coming to the table with, save for bidder 3 over here. But again, the bids were all lower than what the plan was currently paying. The net investment cost, again, was incredibly low for this plan. So probably using a lot of index funds, things like that. So the advisor, again, said, hey, let's take a look at your investment performance. Are you satisfied with the performance of your investments? So even though the investment costs were low, it still opened up a conversation to talk about overhauling their investment lineup. And then again here, I mentioned it in my previous chart, but through this in-depth live bid analysis, each of the bids for record keeping services came back right around the $30,000 range, which was over $60,000 in savings for this retirement plan. And so this is kind of the end game here. This advisor was able to charge a project fee to communicate her value to this prospect by showing, hey, your advisor should have been keeping a closer eye on your fees, because right now you're paying triple what you should be paying in the marketplace. And so for the client, they were more than happy after this process was all done to pay that, $10,000 project fee because they received over $60,000 in savings for their retirement plan. And so utilizing not only something like PlanFees to kind of open up the door and get the conversation going, but also then taking that a step further, not only with clients, but with prospects as well, and isolating plan cost components. That's where really you can win a lot of new business in the retirement plan space here. So then before we get into our sneak preview here of RFP Express, I wanted to leave you with this quick slide. All of these reports, these fee benchmarking, these RFP reports, at the end of the day, what they're going to help you and your client do is maximize your negotiation leverage. So obviously with all of the data that's presented within these reports, you're going to have every piece of information that's necessary to take this to your record keeper or your investment manager and say, hey, let's get these costs down a little bit. And so again, while these outcomes can be achieved, the most important piece of this is that the data is accurate, and that it's going to be something that the service provider is going to look at and say, hey, you know what, you're right, we are out of market on this particular plan. Let's come down a little bit, because at the end of the day, those are your shared clients with the record keeper, and things like that. So real quick here, I got a question about PlanFees before I get into RFP Express. What data universe are you comparing to? Where are you getting your data from comparing similar size plans? So again, we get all of our data for PlanFees through the industry's leading live bid proposal system through RPAG. And so the data that comes through there, again, it's the most accurate fee calculation in the industry. So we include data from those plans that are benchmarked through that system and then put them into the PlanFees database as well. But moving on to what I think everyone's really excited about here is RFP Express. So I've spent a lot of today talking about how cumbersome live bid analysis are. Again, that process can take 3 to 5 to 6 weeks on average to put quotes together. And so one of the things that we wanted to do here at PlanFees was not only offer a simple a simple benchmarking report like the PlanFees Prism report. That's a high level comparison, but also creating an instant quoting tool that working with record keepers, what we wanted to do was create a functionality, a report that advisors could go into, plug in some basic plan data, and then using pricing from the industry's leading providers, get quotes instantaneously or within 24 hours for those plans. And so that's where RFP Express came from. And before I get into RFP Express, there's a follow-up to the other conversation about our data. What record keepers are you able to pull bids from within this program? How much detail is provided with receiving the bids? Any provider can be included in that RPAG live bid analysis. And the detail is as much as they want to provide. They can show credits for proprietary funds, things like that. So again, it's as accurate as possible. So just giving you a sneak peek of what RFP Express will look like. You'll see it as an added tile on your PlanFees dashboard here, where it'll be right next to Prism and Prism 365. Again, if you're already subscribed to the Prism and Prism 365 reports, you're going to get complimentary access to RFP Express automatically. But if you're only currently subscribed to the Prism report for $49 per month, you're going to want to upgrade to get the Prism 365 as well, because that will also include RFP Express. So you'll see this once it's available on the PlanFees homepage here. And again, just like the PlanFees Prism report, what you're going to see is just a quick input here for what kind of plan we're working with. So you can see we're working with a $1.5 million plan. And so we're working with a $1.5 million plan that's bundled. Current provider was ADP. And then for the demographics here, we just ask them for the annual contributions, the annual distributions, and then the number of participants, just getting kind of the cash flow numbers and building a profile for this plan. Then the advisor will say, okay, hey, I want to name this ABC Company 401k plan report. It'll have the advisor review the information that's on the screen. And then what will happen is that all of the providers that are included within this RFP Express report, their pricing will automatically pop up if the plan that you're working with meets the parameters of their pricing. So, for this $1.5 million plan with the specific cash flow that I put in, Voya, Transamerica, and Empower were able to provide an instant quote. And so, again, this is all for illustration purposes. And then also, if the parameter set for the plan doesn't match some of the providers, what they'll do is they'll offer you an opportunity to click this button here and get a quote within 24 hours. So just because Fidelity's doesn't show up here, you can click this button, boom, get a quote from Fidelity within 24 hours. We're working with all of the top providers to not only ensure that their information and then all of their information in here, and then also that they'll respond to the quoting request within 24 hours. Just a couple questions that are coming up here in the chat. We will be releasing a list of record keepers that are on the platform when we are closer to launch here. Again, the $69 per month paid annually will give you access to Prism 365, Prism, and RFP Express. Information will be updated periodically. And then the quote that's provided from these record keepers is going to assume an average allocation that is put together by RP or by PlanFees investment team and the record keepers. So we will release more information on that as follow up here. But it's assuming a mapping with kind of average funds that are the PlanFees investment team created a focus list for. To our other screen, and then this is what the report's going to look like here. If you can see this. So this report is going to look a lot like any other PlanFees report. And then as we go down here, we can see here, okay, hey, this is the current plan information we have for our benchmarking. And then, hey, here's the provider summary for the providers we decide to include in here, whether they're including things like 316, 321, what type of quote they provided. And then you'll also get this fee summary here where you're comparing these quotes side by side. So you'll be able to show this through. Again, this report can be created within just minutes or within a day or so. And so all this information will be here for you to compare. So this is what you can expect the report to look like. So let me stop there. I know I see some questions flooding in here into our chat. So I'm going to stop here and open it up to any questions. If you've been holding on to one, go ahead and fire it into the chat now. I'm happy to answer that. What customization is there available? PlanFees can be customized. You can input the client's logo on the homepage and change around some of that. But then again, we want this report to look, like a third-party benchmark. We don't want it to look like it was created in-house by your advisor firm. So mostly logo and things like that. And then Scott, if we can follow up afterwards and talk a little bit about what that would look like as well. And then let's see here. And then my friend Jesse answered a question about the record keeping credits as well. We have another question in here. What are the costs to get a record keeper added to PlanFees? What are the process to get record keepers added to PlanFees, and how long does it take? So the record keeper to get added to PlanFees, it's very easy to do. So we can reach out. We here at PlanFees can reach out to that record keeper. I'm assuming you have one in mind, Lucas, that you'd like us to reach out to. And then we also, in terms of the process, it should be pretty easy, and I can check with our team to get a more defined timeline here. So the record keeper, no additional cost to get added to our database here. The difference between 401kplans.com and RFP Express. RFP Express is a little bit different. The RFP Express, again, is built directly into PlanFees, allows for further integration with PlanFees other reports, as well as if you're an RPAG member, you can get access to PlanFees that way as well. And so with RPAG, we have reporting integrations between PlanFees and RPAG as well. And we're looking to add different types of plan types as well. So we're kind of starting with the 401k and then expanding out to include, things like, Scott, 403B, 457, et cetera, even MEPs and PEPs as well. So we're working on expanding all of that. But the big difference between 401k plans is 401k plans is going to be as kind of a standalone site. And then PlanFee, the RFP Express is built into PlanFees and has integrations with both PlanFees and RPAG as well. Another question here. But one of the other questions that we get here is, I'm an RPAG member. How much does it cost to upgrade to the full PlanFees bundle? So if you're an RPAG member subscribed to PlanFees, you're paying about $150 per year to utilize PlanFees, and then to get access to both Prism 365 and RFP Express, that's going to be an additional $50 per quarter. So it takes your PlanFees charge up to $200 per quarter. Same thing here. Will this integrate with the RPAG provider analysis? That is something we'll be looking for towards kind of version 2.0 of RFP Express. If you're an RPAG member, you've probably seen that the PlanFees Prism report can now be dropped into, investment reviews or things like that. So we're looking to add the same kind of experience with RFP Express as well. And then let me just scroll through here and make sure I didn't miss anyone here. Is there any limit to the quantity of reports you can run? No, there is no limit to the quantity of reports that you can run as well. Let me see here. And then what's the difference between the RPAG provider analysis and RFP Express? Again, the provider analysis through RPAG are really sort of any in-depth live bid scenario report is going to be taking a look at hundreds and hundreds of data points and getting the kind of the nth degree of what you're looking for in terms of benchmarking fees, investments, and services. So, for instance, the RPAG service highlights section is hundreds and hundreds of data points long. And so, sometimes that's not quite necessary for one of these reports. And so the big difference is going to be the fact that, again, the RPAG live bid analysis is going to be a little bit more time consuming, but again, have much, much more data points within it. Yeah, Jesse, my friend Jesse here made a great comparison to the Tesla Model S versus the Tesla Model 3. So similar tech, but different experience and price point. That's a great way to put it. Couldn't have said it better myself, Jesse. So it looks like we're all caught up here on the questions. So folks, I want to thank you very much for taking the time to speak with me today. And to learn a little bit about, not only what we're currently doing at PlanFees, but also what we're doing going forward here. We're really excited about RFP Express. It's going to revolutionize the quote gathering process for advisors like yourself. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. I put my email and my phone number up here on the screen for you. Again, I'll be sending out the recording of this as a follow-up here, but if there's any questions that come up in the meantime, again, please feel free to reach out to me directly. I'd be happy to do a one-on-one demo and answer any questions that you have. But thanks again, folks, for your time today, and look forward to speaking with you all very soon.